So I've gotten quite a few emails recently about the changes that are happening to 401k accounts right now. And a lot of things are changing. And if you're a high earning executive or professional, two of the most significant rule changes in the last 2 decades have just hit your 401k. And they can affect 2025 and 2026 a little bit differently. So one is a big new savings feature, and the other is a mandatory tax bug that starts in 2026. The key is knowing how those two intersect and how to stay ahead on your payroll system. I'm Bjorn Amundsen, a certified financial planner and a partner here at Quarry Hill Advisors. I've spent nearly 20 years helping corporate executives navigate the complex financial planning decisions. So first, let's do a little bit of a rewind and refresh our memories on the big change that happened because of the Secure Act 2.0 in 2025. There was a brand new super catch-up contribution for a specific age group. So this was a feature designed to help someone who is a near retiree. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63 during 2025, your plan adopts this feature, and many of them are, you're able to contribute a little bit more than the standard catch-up amount. This is a sensible law because this is right about the time that for most people, their kids get out of college and their income really hits a pinnacle. And so it's the time where they're really able to catch up the most. Maybe you weren't able to save a lot when your kids are younger, and now they're finally out of the house and you can actually put some money away for retirement. So everyone in 2025 could save $23,500 to their 401k. Now, if you're over 50, then the catch-up limit is $7,500. But if you were between the ages of 60 and 63, there was a super catch-up limit that was a hefty $11,250. So that means your total savings capacity was $34,750 in 2025 if you're in that age group. So that's a lot of cash to be able to put away, and if you can, you should absolutely be doing it. And that's something that if you're a Quarry Hill client, we'll be watching for to see if it's an option for you. Now, let's talk about the second change, the change that's coming in 2026, and this is the Roth mandate. Now, Roth, if you remember, is when you put the money in and you pay the taxes up front, and then when you pull it out, it's tax-free. Most people love doing this because now they know their retirement accounts are tax-free. However, if you're in your peak earning years, it kind of hurts. You're probably in your highest tax bracket that you will be in your whole life. And so it's paying more taxes up front. And then when you're in retirement and in a lower tax bracket, you're pulling it out tax-free. So it's a clever way the government is using to get a little bit more tax dollars without actually changing the tax brackets. So here's the rule. Starting January 1st of 2026, they're going to force you to make all of your 401k catch-up contributions on an after-tax Roth basis, whether you want to or not. So this is going to eliminate the traditional pre-tax catch-up for that massive group of high earners. And this isn't optional, and for many of you, it can mean thousands of additional taxes this year. So let's nail down the basics of how these rules work. They're going to affect you if you meet all of these criteria. First, you have to be 50 or over and eligible for catch-up contributions. Second, your FICA wages from your employer exceeded $150,000 in the prior year. So that's the index threshold for the 2026 year based on what you earned in 2025. And then third, your employer offers the catch-up contributions, which most of them do. So now, crucial detail is that this is going to be based off of your FICA or your Social Security wages. If you're unsure what they were, you can look in box 3 of your W-2 that you get at the end of the year. And remember, if you have a large bonus or an equity grant that vests in 2025, that could push you over the line and you'd be subject to this mandatory Roth rule for all of 2026. Now, let's keep note that this is a cliff. So if you earn $150,001, you have to do the Roth contribution. If you somehow were able to keep your income to $149,000, then you're not forced into it. So if you have any optionality in your income and you're right at that $150,000 line, you might want to keep a really close eye on it. The other planning nuance is that this applies separately for each employer. So for those rare people who have 2 or more unrelated companies and neither of them pays you more than $150,000, then the Roth mandate doesn't apply even though your total income is higher. Now, remember that super catch-up feature we were talking about? Well, it continues in 2026, but the mandatory Roth rule is going to hit it directly. So in 2026, the regular limit for most people over 50 is $32,500. That's the $24,500 regular plus an $8,000 catch-up. And then if you're somewhere between 60 and 63, your total capacity is going to be $35,750. But the problem is, if you're a high earner making over $150,000 in wages and you want to use that full super catch-up, that entire catch-up portion, $11,250, is going to be made on a Roth basis. And if you have the money to do the super catch-up, you're probably in a high tax bracket. So for someone in the 32% bracket, this could mean paying thousands more in current taxes just to access the benefit. That doesn't mean don't do it. It's still probably the best available option, but let's be careful and be cognizant of it so that we're not thinking that we're getting a deduction for all of this money. So one caveat is I'm hearing that not all employers are ready. This is kind of an administrative nightmare that's forcing some companies to consider 3 options. Some of them might require separate elections, some of them might just do an automatic Roth treatment, and some of them might eliminate catch-up contributions entirely because the burden is just too high. They're needing to figure out how they can track how much you made last year, which they might not know. They might not have a Roth option set up, and they might not have their payroll system set up for all of this. So there's a lot of complexity, and we're right at the end of the year here. So what does this mean for your retirement strategy? Well, the reality is that the tax planning becomes even more critical. First, you might need to budget for the extra taxes that you're going to be paying. Second, if you're right around that $150,000 threshold, maybe there's a way you can time some bonuses or some variable compensation so that you can stay below the limit. Last of all, there is Roth versus traditional analysis. You should look using software where you're at in the tax bracket now and where you're going to be in retirement. Maybe you should go even heavier on Roth depending on where you're going to be in retirement. So here's what you need to do right now. First is you should check on your 2025 FICA wages. When you get your W-2 at the end of the year, see if you made more than $150,000. Second, go talk with HR right now. Don't wait until 2026. Ask them how they plan to implement these rules. Third, model the tax impact. Work with your financial advisor or tax professional to model the tax impact for you and make sure that you have enough cash to pay these bills. If you're working with Quarry Hill, don't worry, we're already going to do that for you. At Quarry Hill Advisors, we specialize in helping corporate executives navigate these types of regulatory changes. If you'd like to learn more about how we help our clients tackle these decisions, click on the link in the description to schedule a complimentary consultation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.